Hey everybody, this is the Ups and Downs of Raw podcast with Skye and Kiko. So, hey everybody and welcome Kiko.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, so we are going to be talking about basically the ups and downs of raw, the reality of a raw diet. I think what is this misconception is that raw is just you go on it and you see all these influences, it's all rainbows and unicorns, and we just feel enlightened all day and we make these recipes and everything's perfect. And what do you think of that, Kiko?
In a way, it's true. If you were to compare, if I were to compare, before going raw, like what was norm, waking up so sluggish every day, you need to cafe to wake you up. And so ours, it does change when you go fully raw and then high raw. That perspective definitely changed. Yeah, but definitely, I've shared on our first interview. There are some major health issues that I went through, and I really feel like it. This is like a perfect timing to talk about it because it's real. It inspires more people, and yeah, I mean, this is. It's not just the diet that counts for sure.
Yeah. I think we get on this and we can feel so good from where we've come from, but it's not perfect all the time. You still get health problems, you can still have ups and downs. And I guess we want to get to the point of you guys feeling confident to start raw where you're at. Like that for some people is like once a week, Friday nights, you make a raw dish, or maybe for breakfast twice a week, it's fruit. But to give you the confidence that even when you're a so-called expert at raw, which I think social media can make you look like, is that it's never smooth sailing. And I think you learned that a lot. I think you even thought, Kiko, that a lot of raw vegans had this perfect life until you did the bundle, and then you're hearing the reality of the different stories. Like every person who you think is an expert at raw has had their trials, right?
Yeah, definitely. That was an amazing journey for me to be part of the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle, to be able to connect with everyone. And yeah, it's more acceptable nowadays. I feel that we can speak up on some of the health issues that we're going through. And, back then when I started, it was like, black and white. And, if you haven't overcome your health issues, you're not part of the community kind of,
Oh.
so it's I think it's great that now it's more acceptable, and we should talk about it. And yeah.
Okay, so Donna said hello. Hey, Donna. Hey, anybody watching? And I think a great place to start here is I've been doing a raw vegan diet for 4 years and I've had my ups and downs, but you've been high raw for 20 years. So
Hmm.
you were saying you started out and you were talking. We just had the sweet and sour party for this month and we've just posted it. And you were saying like the raw vegans that you knew, and I think people look at influencers like this are gurus. Like we've got it, we've nailed it. And if you're still sick, you aren't a raw vegan, like as you said. But tell me what it was like 20 years ago when you started as a raw vegan. What were the raw vegans around you like?
Yeah, yeah. So when I started, this was in New York City, and there were a few raw vegan. I think there were two fully raw vegan restaurants in the city, and there are a few which served raw vegan dishes. So, the raw vegan movement was coming in at that time, 2004, 2005. And yeah, uh, the end of 2005, there were some scandals going on in raw vegan community. Oh my God, yeah. I don't know. This might be a complete different episode, but I've gone through some interesting journey through it. And I was mentioning in the raw party earlier that again, diet is amazing. You feel like instant relief and you feel so light almost immediately. But then, we are social animal, that being part of community is so important. Exercise is super important. But I do feel, some people say the diet is only counts as 10%. But I feel diet is like 90%, because when you change the diet, like, of course, diet, exercise is important, but when you are not feeling for it, you can't force yourself to go. But when I when I changed my diet, I had so much energy, and I really felt like I had new motor, behind me. It's like, like when I'm going up the stairs, I was so light, and it was just natural, and it was just so easy to be active. And so that, even though, there are different perspective in our life, social perspective, mental health, being in community, and there's so, that when you look at the blue zone people, there are so many aspects that we need to be consider to be healthy for a long period of time. But yeah, I was sharing earlier that being raw vegan at that time, when there were not too many people out there, there were not too many ways to connect with raw vegans around the world. So we feel so secluded, and there are some people who went kind of crazy.
What do you mean crazy? What do you mean by like crazy?
Okay, so I used to live in Costa Rica.
Yep.
So in 2007 to 2008, I lived in Costa Rica. And I said, also, this is like a perfect place to be for raw vegans. And I was in touch with like some raw vegan community in Costa Rica. And I remember some people went a bit too far with this ideal life, that they were just eating off just bananas, and they were not taking care of dental health, oral hygienes. They were completely, they completely, removed themselves from society. They were dressed quite messy, and I feel like they even lost how to communicate with people. In a way, I kind of understand, because when you start this journey, people kind of treat you like a bit crazy. I mean, you just eat, uncooked food, like just fruits and veggie, and most people's reaction is, "Oh, you must be crazy." But then you don't know how you feel until you do it yourself, right? Like this kind of like an enlightenment feeling, this light feeling that you would not know by just reading someone's stories. So it's difficult to share this, and when so many people are attacking us and say, "Oh, you're crazy, you should not, you shouldn't, you're doing something to damage your health," then there are times that you need to be alone.
Yeah.
And I definitely had to go through that. I was a pure social butterfly before, but I could not just go out with my friends anymore, because first I was tempted to eat whatever they were eating, because I was still addicted to their what I used to eat. Then people commenting on what I eat is just tiring. So I had to be on a solo journey at some point. And I can understand some people kind of push and just, corner themselves and don't want to deal with anyone else.
Yeah. So talking on how people, like you're in Costa Rica and you're like, some people have gone crazy, like as in like too far, like as in like they're not showering, they're not looking after their teeth. what I noticed when I went raw is all of a sudden the universe is communicating with you, and it wasn't before. It didn't feel like it was for me. So I let go of like shampoos and conditioners, and I think it was part of my healing as well. So I was only using coconut oil, and I was using rosemary and apple cider vinegar for shampoo. No suds, just bicarb baking soda in the washing machine. And you see the world very differently when I think you're not hyper focused and stimulated. I think when you have caffeine or salt or processed foods, the way people perceive the world is different. Everything seems very whole and very enlightened. So I look back at photos now. So now I'm more caring for my hair and self care with my teeth, and I wear a bit of makeup. And when I look back at photos from just a couple of years ago when I was high fruit and I was using nothing, like if I kept doing that, my dental health was not getting good. It was not good. But at the time I thought I felt so good. I actually thought I was doing better than the rest of the world. Like, you could call it delusional. I guess it is. But is it part of this like healing and trauma we're trying to move away from? Because we just come from something so toxic. We go, I need to get rid of everything, right? But when I look back at photos now, and now I have things like salt and vinegar, and I notice my focus becomes hyper focused. Plus, I'm having more, I think, more nutrient dense foods. I was more fruitarian then. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, look at all the lines on my face. Now, I could say that I'm judgmental, but I think there's a reality that the reason we see things in the mirror and then we want to look after them is so we live a longer life. If your teeth start falling out, your hair starts falling out, you aren't dressing properly or cleaning properly, you are going to eventually fall. And if you can't see it at the time, that doesn't mean that you aren't in the world we live in, and there's still toxins around us, that you will not die from something else, right? So I feel there's an evolutionary purpose that we have foods that give us hyper focus and vigilance. And I feel also it's twofold. There's this spiritual enlightenment that comes up. And for me, if I continued down that path, I would have health problems. I can't continue in the Western world, maybe on an island, but you're saying in Costa Rica, it still wasn't ideal. I just think there's things that in the world, the way the world is dense and heavy, and most people on it are having dense and heavy foods, and we're part of that. Even if we try and escape, there's been like years and years of pollution, and the air isn't the greatest. So we still have to, I feel like if I kept going the path I was going, is I cleaned myself out. But it's like a car, right? If you look at a car and you start washing all the dirt and oil and stuff off a car, it can look clean. But if you keep scrubbing, you'll scrub off the paint, you'll scrub off the handle. And I felt like that was what was happening to me. I was scrubbing away at something that now needed a bit of protection in this world. So when it comes to that point, how do you think we recognize that point, like that point that we get to where we've cleaned, we need to clean, we need to find ourselves, but then how do we not go down that path?
Yeah, that was so powerful what you shared, Skye. But I do feel like we all need to embrace ourselves on whatever we went through. And I feel like what you went through was so important for where you are, Skye. Because I see you and I didn't see any flaw in you. And I just, kept saying that Skye looks amazing. And especially, you share the before photo when you were like so skinny and you were playing in the ocean, I think.
Yeah.
And from that point, you was just getting better and better and better. And, I just admire your, every step of journey that I observed. And it's more powerful that you share your journey now. Like you shared about drinking coffee when you had your broken tooth. That's really powerful. And for me, it was like a few years ago, I was going through some health challenges. Some people are joining.
Yeah, so we've got Apple. You can't see?
No.
Oh, I don't know how to make that. So you see, so Apple a Day said, hey, Skye and Kiko and Kat and Sean are here as well. And they said, hey, guys. I don't know. I'll have to look at how to
That's
share
okay.
that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can. Yeah. Um, yeah, but you know this we talk about forever detox and I think Chris Kendall he talked about, you know, like mucus coming out, and it's true there's some a certain time that we don't have any mucus coming out. For example, when before going raw, I had like mucus coming out of you know, I when I wake up, like, you know, I always had something in my eyes, and I had to wash my face in the morning, or if I had to wash my mouth immediately when I wake up, otherwise I feel so gross because of what I ate. You know, it was acidic and it smells really bad. And now I don't have that. Like you know, I don't have any mucus coming out of eyes when I wake up, or like my mouth is not disgusting when I wake up. But there are some other mucus coming out, and you know, Chris was mentioning like that's quite normal. When you hear, you know, some social media like, oh, this never happens to me, and it might be true for you know, like one part of their lives. We never know what else they are going through in their
That's
life.
true. That's definitely true.
Mm.
They get, I think we only see, and that's why I try and share as much as possible. Like as I've shared when I had shingles, I've shared when I had needed an iron infusion, I've shared that I went back to coffee. And I must say the first 2 years for me were more fruitarian and very easy. Like, but is it comparable? Like to be as sick as I was near death, and all of a sudden you're running and swimming, and you're like nothing can touch you. But then it was like I realized I'd become allergic to everything. And it's kind
Mm.
of, I guess, I talk about Chris Kendall a lot, talk about Chris Kendall again, is when you start isolating, just living off mono meals or just having one type of fruit, is you're limiting your microbiome and your the nutrition that you get, and then your digestion. And he suffered with even nerve problems with B12 deficiencies. And we need to know when is the time to come back to earth, because we have been traumatized and I think we run from our problems. But the reality is, it's like you can clean a system, but once it's running again, is you can live. Like you can live, and that's the beauty about the raw vegan lifestyle. And I think that's different to when you're eating very light and you're finding your way, and then you get to this point where you can go high raw, but you get to choose, like, how does this food feel? Because I think in different places in the world, people's bodies are just microbiomes adapt, and their genetics, microbiome and epigenetics adapt better to the foods around them. Someone lives in the cold, they might do, because I do it now, is it's getting colder and I want a lot of veggies. Whereas in summer, I will eat a lot of fruits, even to the point that the savory foods I eat are fruit. But then as soon as it gets cold, and I think we need to choose like what we're going to put in our bodies, and we get to decide then how to respond. We don't have to go and read a book on it. If we respond really bad, sometimes I'm not great with, say, carrots, and I think it's like a FODMAP thing. I can do great with greens, I can do great with fruits, and then I can notice if I have more than one carrot, it's not the best for me. But that's just my body and my experience. And it's like this whole new, I feel like I went through this cleansing stage, and then I started to notice I was getting more problems. And as I've added food back, it's like I'm building Skye now, as opposed to at the start, it was really like moving away and letting go. And then you get to rebuild yourself with
Yeah.
like the raw materials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like again speaking about again coming bringing Chris Kendall back. You know, he always say when someone asks question, he is very careful not giving the advice right off the bat, because he said, you know, I need to know the context. Like, you know, we don't know what this person is going through. Okay, so let's say I don't know, I'm having a skin rashes, like what should I do? What do I eat? I mean, with that, oh, okay, go on a water fast. That would cure. To me, that's so irresponsible to say something like that, right?
Mm,
Like I actually hired someone well known for water fast. When was it? Over 2 years ago,
sure.
because I was going through this hormonal
Yep.
challenge. And listening to this person speak about, okay, this will cure, and I guarantee you, and those
Yeah.
people, I can understand, that they need to be strong with their message to sell their service. But I now know that's not the truth, and it came to the point quite dangerous for me. I mean, it's good that I didn't believe all the way for what this person was pushing me into. And he was saying that, you have to push, and this is normal. But I'm like, no, I can't even move. Like, I'm, my cycle is too heavy. I can't even get up. Like, I'm like with blood all over me. And like, why?
Wow.
you know it's like, so you need to, I think the message is that you need to find yourself to believe in you. There are definitely certain protocols that you have to go through, especially in the beginning, but you need to find your confidence.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and it's a bit tricky because when you are sick, you know it's difficult to find your confidence, especially when your body is weak.
But I think a huge part of this healing is each of us finding our voice. So there's
Mhm.
no point you jumping for 10 years from protocol to protocol to protocol and saying it's not working. I really feel I find my way more and more as I find my voice. My voice. It's not an answer in a book. It's nobody else. And I just think you have to be really careful when there's protocols out there where I keep hearing the same thing from water fasting experts and from juice fasting experts. When the results don't come, they blame the person, and this person eats it themselves more, and then they usually go deeper and harder. So just say they were water fasting, now I know that they're dry fasting. Just say they were juice fasting, now they're water fast, and it goes on. And I really think the only safe way through is to know your limits, like when you actually feel because you have to everyone listening has to understand that why I healed was because I stopped following pain. So I knew, because I was, if you don't know my story, I was sick for 32 years, in bed for 25, had over 60 surgeries, 7 major organs removed. Everyone's telling me what to do. Then I get functional neurological disorder, can't walk and talk. And so I'm basically stuck with my own voice. So when I'm living by myself now, and I can't cook the food because I'm too sick. And I start getting up, and then I cook it, and I'm in pain. And then I'm like, okay, I can't, I didn't completely understand it. But if I eat it non-cooked, it didn't matter what it was, I could get up. And that was a starting point. And anything that started to cause me negative thoughts or bad feelings, I was like, this isn't for me. And a majority of the time it was cooked food at that point, or a lot of like lotions and body washes and stuff. So I started to follow the pleasure signals, not the pain. And before I knew it, there was no negativity. Like especially a lot of the time was in nature, I was sitting there and I'm like, I just have these, no, and I wasn't around anybody, no bad thoughts. And so then I got into the raw vegan community, and everyone's like, you're supposed to feel really sick for a period of time. This can go on years. And I'm like, that would have killed me. I was near death, and that would have killed me. The only way I got out was to love, as in like this feel, and it's a feel good where I think about it, it feels good. I buy it, it feels good. I cut it up, it feels good. I eat it, it feels good. And then afterwards, it feels good. The whole pattern is feel good. If something made me feel bad, and so, I wouldn't continuously just eat cucumbers, for example, because that wouldn't have made me feel good. What made me feel good was this variety. It was more of the watery foods that I was drawn to, like little packages of sunlight, as I called it. But it didn't mean that when I didn't feel like peanut butter on banana, that I would have it, and then usually I was back to more watery foods, and then maybe I was really craving a noodle dish, and I'd grate some carrot with some cashews and some tamari sauce, but then I was back to like the watery food. It never made me feel bad, but it was about following my journey. And it was probably one of the biggest shocks to find that people weren't healing in that state for me, because as I aligned with myself, my that inner voice had to be kind for me to be well. If there's this voice starts getting, Skye, you're not doing it good enough, that's not good enough, is I literally start to break. And I may not break in a way, well, break my toe, I guess, but like I just notice that I get anxiety, and it just, my life starts to not go well. And it is harder to stay in that place when I'm active online. But the stronger I become in myself and my convictions and what works for me, the better I do. And this is what this podcast is about, is that it's not supposed to look perfect. And as I always say, is as Ed Sheeran says, he never learned anything from winning a Grammy. He learned it when he had a lisp as a kid. And the reason he played music was to get over his lisp. He worked hard at that, loses business partners and contracts. He learns lessons. It all comes from the dark, and we have to embrace that, because no one's in the dark with us. We have to understand what the things are that bring us down, or what doesn't make us feel good. And either, I don't always think necessarily avoiding them, but what have they got to teach us? Like, as I said with the coffee, right? I went back to coffee. I don't think coffee, for me, it doesn't work. But what was my body doing? And I was so used to having these massive chunks of adrenaline-driven exercise. My body started seeking it out elsewhere. Was it a bad thing? No, because I really don't want it now. It scared me how much pain I ended up. But that was my life lesson. Like, wasn't someone had to, tell me how to do it, or you should know better, or of course it's acidic. And it's like, I actually think I'm grateful for that lesson.
Yeah, definitely. Those painful experience, unpleasant experience, they're, we do want to avoid, but it's true. Those are the time that we become more creative. Like, how can I avoid this again? And I'm, over and over when I face something, this is, I don't feel good. Why did it happen this way? But with that situation, I always come up with, okay, what can I do now with that, limitation or challenge that I have? And it always come out to be, much more interesting. Like, also I learn and grow, and I say, oh, this is actually great that I went through this hard time.
Yeah. I mean, you went through a really hard time. Like, it sounds like when you tell your story about going through these hormone problems, I think the biggest thing I hear you say is that you felt like you were doing something wrong. Like, that it was, this isn't part of like life teaching me something, that you aren't able to be a raw vegan, you aren't able to be a high raw vegan, when really it was just about you finding how it's going to work for you, right?
Yeah, so I cured ovarian cyst over 20 years ago, right? And I felt like, wow, I found the code, because at that time I had this like grapefruit size ovarian cyst on the left, and then tangerine size on the other side. And I went through a surgery at that time because, my gynecologist said that there's nothing you can do, and you could die over rupture. You have such a small body, and this is huge. And so I went through a surgery, and it ended up coming back in a few months, on the checkup. I didn't feel any pain, but, she checked and was like, oh, it's back. And it came to the size that I need a surgery again. And I was like, this is just not sane to me, going through surgery over surgery. And I didn't want to remove my female organs. So when I discovered raw vegan, it was like a quick fix, and later I was eating some cooked food, but I realized, as long as I avoid alcohol and gluten, my ovaries ovarian cyst doesn't come back. So I felt like I cracked the code, and I felt like I found the answer. But then when I moved to France, that was like 8 years ago, I started to have this like I had a very painful period, and so doctor gynecologist diagnosed me as endometriosis. And I've tried so many different modalities. Besides raw vegan, I did lots of just feasting, and like
Sounds like water fasting as well. It sounds like you did water fasting as well.
yeah, I did water fast as well. I did mono fruits as well, and then you feel like, oh, maybe I didn't do it quite right. And yeah, it's this. Yeah, it could be quite dangerous, like feeling that it's never ending detox cycle, right? And well, luckily we do have choices now. We can, there are hormonal therapy there, on certain severe cases. Mhm.
Can we just stop though, because you actually went to the hospital, and we're not talking about iron here. Your hemoglobin was at what?
2.
I can't fathom that. That's like the oxygen in the blood. That's just like, as I've said, when I get chills when I hear this, because I was bleeding out I lost my stomach and duodenum, and I was bleeding constantly and needed, I think, over 10 blood transfusions, and my hemoglobin was at 37. And I remember the hospital, I said, they were shocked it was low. And I'm like, is this the lowest you've seen? They said, no, a girl walked in, I think 14 or 17, and she was translucent. Like, I couldn't stay conscious. I bled out. So there wasn't enough blood or oxygen in my body. And so when you say 2, it blows my mind, yet you still left that hospital and said you were going to heal it yourself, or your brain was still like.
Right. I'm not sure if you're speaking of the same thing, because hemoglobin, because in Japan the minimum, I think it's 10 or 11, and up to 15 or 16. I have to double check, but I know that like 10 or 11. But like if you go to 6 is definitely low, and you might need the iron
Or maybe it is your iron. The reason I thought it was hemoglobin was because you were saying the nurses came in and they were like, they wanted to see the girl whose
yeah.
was it 2, because they couldn't believe it.
But 37 is it's not the there. I think there's maybe the way they measure is different here in Japan, or it was the same.
Maybe it was like 3.7. Yeah, it could. Usually the values are usually very similar, because it's not iron. Like, I've had my iron be at 0.8, but still my hemoglobin was still high enough to keep me conscious. But yes, but either way, that it was extremely low, right?
It was definitely low, and so I went to a hospital. I think it comes from a traumatized experience at the hospital, and I just don't trust. There's so many. Well, I have gone through this ovarian cyst removal, and it's supposed to be a very simple procedure wasn't simple. It was. I think the surgeon didn't do a good job. And after that, I started to have a very heavy, painful cycles. And, I don't want to blame it was just for the surgery that I have the condition right now. But, I just don't trust people to go into my body and cutting, and they're also, doctors are not getting enough sleeps, and my friend's doctor are saying that it's just insane how they work. So yeah, of course there are times that we should go to hospital and trust their whatever the service they're available, but I just didn't want to go through this experience in a hospital. So I said, well, I'll be okay. I felt invincible in a way with this raw vegan diet, and I just wanted to leave. But yeah, it, doctors were warning me that they cannot take risk. Well, I have to sign the letter saying that it's not their responsibility if I die, right?
That's
Because
pretty heavy.
yeah, I mean, for that hemoglobin to go that low, they were scared that they would have, issue that, okay, someone died in this, someone who left their hospital died right after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, um, so it's actually one of the biggest turning point for me that was just last year, a bit like a year ago. And after that experience, I felt there's a purpose, there's a reason that I couldn't leave this world. There's something I needed to finish. And, I used to worry about, not being perfect, or, not having a perfect uh, appearance to represent raw vegan lifestyle. And I was just hesitating to come out and talk about my story. But that experience last year, I said, you know what? I can leave this world anytime, which I'll be happy. I had such an amazing life, but I need to reach out to more people, right? Because there are certainly people who are in the same or similar situation like me, struggling. When does this detox space go through? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah. And really, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. I think we have to distinguish between where everything becomes food and when are we here for the journey. You can't just eat a food and then, as I said, rainbows and unicorns and ponies, that's for the rest of your life. Is your soul is here for a journey. And I think when you embrace that, you get a bit of confidence back in trusting when to use things like modern medicine or trying something different, that what you're doing right now isn't working.
Mhm.
And I think in my situation is I let go of everything when I first went raw. But then I noticed after 4 years is there's a lot of joint stiffness. I was aging very, very quickly. I'd had a full hysterectomy at 30. I was on hormone replacement. I let all of that go. And for weeks, actually months, because I tried to put the hormone replacement back in when my iron was low and it just caused a massive histamine reaction. So my body kept sending me these messages. It was wanting estrogen. So I say hormone replacement, but technically it's not HRT because there's no progesterone, which I don't need because I don't have a uterus. So it's not as a priority to keep the estrogen in balance because there's not any, like you're not going to get any cancer because you don't have the organ. But the research then that I did even I looked afterwards because everyone's like, you're going to get cancer, you're going to get cancer. And if you've had a complete hysterectomy, so everything removed, every research study they've done shows that cancer risk decreases if you add estrogen, just estrogen, back into your life. And that was before I did it intuitively. I got to this point where everything was becoming stiff, my mood was off. And the main thing was my body kept thinking about it. It wanted me to go and get the script, just kept telling me to do it. Like that's what I needed. And then I did the research afterwards. But it's because I like to trust in myself. But it said heart health, bone health, what else? Brain health. I said cardio health, but everything became more protected because of the estrogen. And in all these studies, people had less incidences of disease and cancer. So it worked out in my benefit. And to me, that doesn't come back from doing this diet wrong. It comes back to the reality we live in is a world not all the Garden of Eden. Like we're not living in like this high level of oxygen. Everything's perfect. There's no stress. We're not sleeping on the earth. We're not grounded all the time. We're not eating like the health fruit that's getting all the nutrients. It's a world where I think if you find yourself on the raw diet, and then you're so clear and you feel things a lot more, you get to make those decisions as to what you want to put in. And like if I put something in that doesn't work for me, I really feel it. Like I feel it and I'm like, that's a lesson learned. And I don't think that I did anything wrong. I just think my soul had some lesson to learn. I'm more about what my soul is here to learn now, that I've been able to clear out the clutter, you know, with the raw food and the movement and the connection to nature. I'm more concerned about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think again, the message is try to find yourself and find your voice, right? Because no one knows what you're going through, and I still don't trust doctors
Sure.
in general, because it's just not possible to know what we are going through. We are such a sensitive being that, you know, it might work with a Western way of looking at, you know, one issues, but, you know, like, yeah, take a, well, if I have a headache and I can take a, like a medicine to remove the headache, but that's just removing that certain point, you know, certain issues. But we have to always think about it in a holistic way, that why am I having a headache? For me, when I have a headache, usually I'm dehydrated, you know, I'm out.
Always.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
I swear to God, I remember I said at the party is I can cure literally everything I need with a case of coconut water. So I can do it with juice or a couple of coconuts, but if I'm getting to an acute situation, I promise I've tried both. I've tried pain relief and I've tried, and that just sends me back more dehydrated and days of problems. And it's been quite bad for me to get to that stage. It's been quite bad. If I buy a case of coconut water, which essentially is just like pure nature's electrolytes, but you can do it with juice. But a lot of the time I find it very clean and efficient to just get fresh coconut water, is I have watched my histamines stabilize, terrible headaches. I have had an upset stomach, you name it, it just goes. Like, I think that's a starting point is, and I don't know whether it's as simple as just drinking water. I think I've only ever experienced it whether it's like balanced juices or, and that looks different. I can't say what juices because sometimes if it's too sweet, it causes me problems. But I find coconut water, which just, yeah, sorry, interrupted you there because that excited me. Bye, Donna, by the way. Donna's left. She's in Jamaica. She said goodbye.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, definitely. That's I love coconut water as well. It's like instant, like how do you call it? Like an energy drink, and it's charged. It's not just water, because when I'm dehydrated and I drink water, I feel a bit off balance. So sometime in the morning I usually add citrus, lemon juice in water. Yeah, that's really nice. And I try to drink little by little throughout the day. And sometimes I forget. So when I'm out all day, I definitely, I could have some headaches. So yeah, anyway, yeah, paying attention, right? And finding your voice. How do we feel? That's what Marabella was saying. How do you feel when you, after eating? How do you feel every day? Like, how do you feel when you do certain things? And being conscious on our action and situation, what we eat, who we are with, that all counts.
It does. It does all count. There is a comment here I'll put up on the screen. I can finally, I'm not sure, it says opine. I think this Aussie lady, I think she's referring to me, is so brave and wonderful. She saved her life. As Hippocrates said, oh, doctor, heal yourself. That is exactly what she did. All of my respect for her. So thank you. That's such a lovely lovely comment. And I said at the party today, and I'll say it again, is I don't think it should be, doctors should be able to prescribe lifestyle medications without somebody having to change their lifestyle. Like, as in, like, fair enough if they, that we can't eradicate medications like that. But if they're giving any lifestyle medication, is at the same time you can't leave and go and have McDonald's. You then have to change the food you eat. You have to get some movement, some time in nature, lower stress. Otherwise, you're not helping yourself. You're not helping the planet. And it's more than that. There's so much to life, right? That's what I realize is when you not just heal, but you start to thrive, is you really realize what life is like and who you are and what you're capable of doing when you feel good and not pulled down by so many different things. Like you get to experience this. And I think that's why when I first go raw, I'm like, everyone has to go raw. Everyone has to go raw. I'm like, because I realize nobody's really understanding or experiencing life.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to mention regarding what, like, in the endometriosis that I was going through, and I'm pretty sure I still have it, but I don't have any cycles because I suppressed it after going through that horrific experience last year. And one doctor, he mentioned like why I was not open to doing certain protocols. And he said, I understand that there are some concerns because the pills, there are definitely side effects. And I was really, really concerned about it, but he said, what good, like you're so young and you still have so much, you could do so many things in your life. And even though there are some risk for these pills that we are suggesting, wouldn't it be better to enjoy your life now? Because what I was going through was for years I was losing so much blood, and I was taking iron pills every day. And it was like so unpredictable. Sometimes I feel really energetic, I feel great, and all of a sudden I feel like I lost, and like the blood is coming, like just.
Well, that's life force, right? The blood is life force. So if you've lost a lot of it, you're not feeling like yourself, for sure.
Right. So I ended up, I took this pill called Relumina in Japanese, which is GnRH. I think this is the, it's suppressing estrogen and progesterone. And, I took it for 6 months. And now I feel amazing because I don't have any cycle. I have so much energy, and, I feel, I feel amazing now every day. But definitely once, this is just a short-term protocols, and I would definitely consider hormonal replacement if it's needed to be. I've already gone through this horrific experience, losing so much blood, near death, or I should have been really dead last year. Yeah. And so that's why I shared with you that nurses came to my room. Like there's someone with hemoglobin 2 at 2, and she's still breathing, and I was still conscious, and they were amazed, like, not being dead is a different thing, but I mean, I should have lost my consciousness, but I was quite conscious, all the time. I was just tired and I couldn't move much, but
yeah. And I think that's where that decision comes from, right? Is when we turn to Western medicine, it usually is like that. If you have done everything you possibly can and there's something acute, like you're going to die, you can't stop bleeding, that's what it's there for. It's not there to just have and then you go and destroy your body. more and more and you need more pills. It's like you literally have done anything, you shouldn't be here, and you've took the medication and now you have this life, and it's given you this motivation to even share. And that's what the trauma and the dark does, right? It gives you this motivation. But it's like why we're sharing this podcast is it's so important that everything, when you see a few photos and nice recipes and ebooks and all of this, is there's so much more to it. You know, someone might be having the best juice and the best hair and the best, I don't know, they're able to be flexible, but you don't know if there's something else. And I've also noticed is the body, when you're living this lifestyle and you're clean and you're looking after yourself, it has an ability to tolerate. Like I couldn't be on a whole lot of medications ever again for a period. If it needed to save my life, I'm sure I could. You know, you're in some sort of accident, but like the hormone replacement was a lot. But for me, I'm doing a lot better. But I couldn't tolerate a lot of it. Like the body will tolerate small things to give you gains because I am stronger now. I am, my body is able to get rid of what it doesn't need, and it's obviously using something. It's all about your journey. It's not about comparing yourself to anyone else.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, Chef AJ, who was part of the bundle as well,
Yes.
right? And then that was also her journey was so powerful. And I remember she shared how, you know, because she's quite well known in vegan world, and you know everyone loved her, right? And she was told, you know, by someone like not to share that, disclose her health condition. And she shared also that there are some vegan or whoever raw vegan influencers going through some health issues, and but they are not, you know, they feel like they cannot share this information. And yeah, like you were saying, it's more powerful to share that journey. But I can understand in a way because, you know, we those influencers, they came out saying that, you know, this cured such, like I, you know, I've gone through this ovarian cyst journey that was amazing fix. But that wasn't it. There are some other things that came out, and it might not have been just the food. It might have been like an environment we are in. You know, this is not the cleanest world we are living in either, right?
Yeah.
And mental health as well. So yeah, but it's so I can understand that how these influencers don't want to share their health you know, challenges that they're going through. But this is, I feel, the time that we should come out and share our journey.
Yeah, I think also anyone like looking at protocols for a fix all, is the reality of it is look at someone as you're taking on a coach to give you more strength while you undertake a journey, but not the full answer. I have seen raw vegan foods cure just about everything, right? But that doesn't mean that you might have blocks that are slow, that take time, or you may cure everything under the sun and then you realize your ear won't stop hurting, you know, and it doesn't mean you've done it wrong. It just, you know, there's different reasons these things happen, and you can go into genetics and epigenetics and the microbiome and the food you eat. But at the end of the day, I think everyone should just think about we are human and we're here for this journey. Like we are, like, and as we keep saying, is the greatest strength we have. And the reason Kiko talks and I talk is because of our darkest hours. And if you can hold on to that while you go through it, but believe in yourself enough. Like I think it comes down to when you're doing something and it doesn't feel right, something else feels right, as long as it's not something like toxic, is try it. Try a bit of what you're doing and a bit of something else. Like the full answer is I 100% promise you it's not in one set protocol. Even like I'm a health coach. Even if you work with me, I'm only part of your journey. I don't want forever somebody going, what would Skye do? What would Skye do? What would Skye do forever, right? It's what do you should feel what you need, what your body needs. And sadly, a lot of sales come from you're sick because you do this and I'm going to cure you. And then when you get in the protocol and you don't get cured, you get told over and over in each of these that you didn't push hard enough. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's definitely a journey. And yeah, there's a fine line of being dogmatic and also being disciplined for, paying attention certain things. How does your body react when you eat certain things? And like, for example, when I was in the beginning of my raw vegan journey, I didn't think eating drinking water was necessary, because I felt so hydrated when I changed my diet to raw vegan, because you're constantly eating juicy fruits and vegetables. And like, people were commenting, that's so dangerous. You should drink 2 liter of or 2 liter to yeah 2 liters of water every single day. I'm like, that's again generalizing. It's so dangerous, because if you overdrink water, you could die as well by off balancing. Yeah,
It's
what is
it's like the cure is in the dosage every time. And even when people are like, no, you can eat a whole lot of bananas, or you can eat a whole lot of this, I'm like, no, you actually can't. Trust me. You should see what happens to me. Well, my throat starts to close up if I have too many bananas. And that's like another thing, right? Is they're like that. Fruit makes us always feel good, and that's why it's the optimal food. Well, in my case, a lot of the time I need to balance. My days are very balanced right now, whereas it'll be like greens, veggies, fruit. If I try keep pushing fruit, I end up quite unwell, and no one's going to tell me what the problem is. Over time, I end up with a blood sugar issue, but I'm coming off of that now. And I'm just noticing my body still craves balance. The biggest thing I've noticed since adding foods back and rebuilding is how balanced my meals are. So it's not these meals all day of just fruit or just juice. I do like the hydration of juice, but my meals, when I eat them, even if it's a fruit meal, usually you'll find a little bit of like hemp seed, or you'll find it might be fruits with some greens. Or if I have like a veggie meal today, it had lentils, corn, mushrooms, like it had there's persimmons in the sauce. It was a whole plant-based meal that was raw, and I feel so stable on that right now. And for me, a lot of why I stopped, I found myself, and this is what happens when you do a lot of like mono fruits and juices, and that is every time I felt unwell, it's I'm going to eat grapes now, just eat grapes, and then that did not work. Okay, I've got to just do juice, and that isn't healthy. And I knew it, and I knew I had to stop and keep persevering with finding something. So Skye, I'm happy for you to do 3 or 4 days on juice, but what are you going to do after that? What does that look like? There's no point finishing that and being like, now you haven't done good enough, you need to eat watermelon for 5 months, and then you're going to have to, like, no, that's not what I want my life to look like. Is what does Skye's stand where you haven't got cravings? Because when I was doing a lot of fruit, I've said this, is most of the time, even though I didn't want to acknowledge it, all I thought about was vegetables and greens. And people can go, you're in a calorie deficit and that's why. And it's like, but I wasn't wanting sugar. I was wanting just veggies, not even fat. I was just wanting veggies. And now my meals are more are grounded in that, based on what my body required. But I think that was really important for me, is I knew nobody that I looked at long term had done years and years and years and years and years and years of just like water and extreme like fruits and juices that I saw as like I wanted my life to look like. Whereas I saw a lot of raw vegans who, not that my life's exactly the same as them, who had all these balanced, what I call more balanced and denser meals, which seemed to be giving like a long sustained, denser strength that I felt a calling towards. And it's not that I think anybody's doing badly, it's just that's where my calling then felt. And it was also just getting away from being, now I've got to have apples for the next week, now I've got to, I didn't want to sit there.
Oh my God, yes, there's so many interesting things that you shared and you talked, and yeah, it's amazing, and definitely being raw vegan now is it's an amazing time to be raw vegan because again, like over 20 years ago when I started, there are not too many people who were doing around me. I had one close friend who was thriving on raw vegan diet, but I think it makes it easier when you have a community, and that's why I love this once a month raw party or ultimate raw vegan bundle, because then you get to see many people's perspective. It's not just one person's, one protocol doesn't work with everyone. That we learn,
Yeah.
we are in community. And so, yeah, in the beginning of my journey, they were saying that, oh, or if you eat clean, if you eat fully raw, and you have a clean body, you don't need oral hygiene, you don't need to take a shower, all that. Then people take it to extreme, like I was saying, when they were going crazy. Then they just isolate themselves, and I can understand because I was blamed, or I was attacked by quite a few people around me that this, you're crazy what you're doing, la la la, and because I looked healthy from outside, so it's more difficult to see if I was like if I had a miracle story like you did, maybe around you, people wouldn't question what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think reality is most people are blamed or, accused, like, oh, you're doing something dangerous, you don't know. And I can understand their fear.
But also, I think we have to understand that, and Miranda is the one that said this, is we are cleansing society. So, you know how, like, when fruit goes in you, everything that's like negative and bad has to start to leave. Well, you're rubbing people. You're like the orange and the strawberry that's kind of like cleansing the person and making them face, well, maybe they're doing it wrong. But instead of saying, my diet is wrong, people are defensive and they say, oh, that's not right. It's like the drinker who doesn't want to drink with someone who's juicing. They want someone else to be poisoning themselves with them. So when you start being all shiny and bubbly and high vibe in their face, they're not conscious of it, but they're pulling at you so that they can stay in their comfort zone. Is you're making them feel uncomfortable. So we have to remember that it's part of our duty. And I also think is like, I love doing these conversations. But in truth, is a lot of the change that happens is because of people watching that are and things that I'm not aware of. Like, it might be a reel on a recipe which has no health advice or health thoughts or health, learned something health wise, but people will be like, oh wow, she's eating this food and she looks so bright. And people like to make their own assumptions. As soon as we come at someone and we're like, you need to do this, you're doing this wrong, you need to change that. There's two types of people. There's the people who are comfortable and they're going to get defensive, or there's the people who are very vulnerable and they'll usually latch on to something like that. And that's you. Either way, you want people to just look at you and be inspired. Like, I think we don't, like, let it sell itself. Let it speak for themselves. Let two people stand next to each other, one who eats a standard diet and one who eats a raw diet, and someone, and put them next to each other every time. If someone is got the raw diet for them, I believe they will shine and people will go, okay, there is something here. But yeah, I would say just let it speak for itself.
Yeah, I never talk about, how great raw vegan is. Like when they see me eat, they're like, oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like a spring garden, there's so many colors popping out. It looks so amazing. It looks so delicious. And, and they see me being very active, and they always say, wow, that's amazing. And, if they want to change, they would ask me questions. They would ask more questions or come to my cafe. But, at the end of the day, you know, everyone, we have to respect everyone's journey,
Yes.
because I was quite, in the beginning especially, I was quite judgmental to others, and I was just puzzled, like, why people are not realizing, you know, such a simple diet that they can, you know, make a small step, step by step. And but most people actually prefer to suffer, or prefer to keep on eating what they're used to eating,
Mm.
and take medication, or being hospitalized. And that's one of the hardest lesson that I had to learn, that yeah, people want to continue doing what they want. They you know, they prefer to be told by doctors on what medication to take, because that daily habit is very difficult to change.
Yeah, and also we live in a society where it's like, oh my God, did you see that ad on television for the stomach trimmer or whatever? And then usually your girlfriend's like, oh my God, are you going to try it? I'm going to try it. Are you going to try it? Okay, let's try it. And you come at them with this. And for some reason, it's just, I think it's just too many levels up. Like, I think it's something different. It's not just food, it's not just a cure. I think because it is this spiritual awakening, is people just, it's, I don't want to sit in that space. And we've kind of, as I said, is like I was saying in the party, is I learned as I healed that having less, like especially when you're first healing, and not over consuming, and the simple uncooked foods can give you the absolute most joy I've ever experienced. And we're kind of taught for our entire experience or existence that you need to work hard, you need to be like making a ton of money, and you need to travel the world, and then you'll experience what happiness is and have diamonds and all of that. And then the reality is, it's like, no, it comes from within you, and this connection to you and the entire universe. And so it's many layers which I don't think can be explained. You can't say your soul, you can't get someone to awaken their spirit. They have to, and that's what the dark is for, right? The dark is supposed to really rip away the constructs that we've built in
Mm-hmm.
our mind, in our friends, in our lifetime, and make us feel so I can't even explain what for me the dark night of the soul is. And I've always said this is, you know, it's unlike, you know, I had my stomach removed, and that was still in the realm of this conscious existence of like this comfort of like reality. And then when I had my awakening, is like reality's gone, and you see everything for what it is. And the only tools that helped me through were nature. Like the closer I could get to it, the more my understanding of myself was. And I think that's, you know, it's only for a select few. So if you're going through the dark, you are a select few. I don't think everyone gets to have dark night of the soul.
Yeah, and yeah, every part of our journey is beautiful, I feel, and that yeah, for us going through that dark night over and over, that highlights where we are. And I honestly feel, if I had I got not gone through that, you know, the tiny things that happens in my life, like people just don't notice, like just the wind or just the
Yeah.
flower on the street, and take the moment. And it's, you know, I truly believe that paradise is on this earth, but by looking at the same picture, two people might, you know, completely have a different view. You know, it's very interesting how I think maybe by nature as a human being, we want to protect ourselves. So we say, oh, you know, there's pollution, or I don't know, it's too hot. And then meanwhile, I might be looking at the same thing as like, oh, I just had a nice breeze, and like flowers on the street, and just how you focus and pay attention could completely change your life.
Yeah, I 100%. Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. Are we going a bit too?
Yeah. I was just going to say that you know, with this, the way that I feel some souls are is, I don't think everyone gets to come on this lifetime and experience like the reality cracking away, like, and that you now get to experience the butterflies in the wind and the salt on your skin and just be in meditative state in the sunlight for hour after hour and only ever want a little bit of fruit to get through your day. I don't think that's for the weak of heart. Like, I think you have to have this strength. You've come here for that, to sign up for that, and some people have not. It's just a different experience. But yeah, and thank you everyone for joining, for the ups and downs of Raw. Thanks for joining me, Kiko.
Thank you, Skye. That was fun.
It was. So we'll be back next week talking more about ups and downs of Raw. If you have, right below, this will be posted, but if there's a topic you specifically want us to talk about, and we can do that. And because we're going to talk about this week to week so that people know there's ups and downs of Raw. It's not just perfection. Alrighty, well, have a good week, guys. And make sure you also, if you watch this, make sure you go and watch the, we just posted the sweet and sour party. That was lots and lots of fun with some recipes there that we bought. And yeah, so Apple a Day said thank you, and she loves the subjects of ups and downs. And we do, Kiko and I love it because it's what like motivates us. It's what got us here. It's why we do things, and it's what changes lives. I think, as I said, is on my story, I post when I'm going through a down, and all of a sudden I'm flooded with messages. You're going through this too. What are you doing? Does this help? This helped me. It gets the conversation going. So,
yeah.
All right. We'll see you all soon.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Kiko. Bye.
Thank you.